Start. Come on. There we go. SEO this week. Hey everyone, Clint Butler here with episode 105 of SEO this week. I'd like to thank you all for coming. There's a whole bunch of people waiting in the waiting room. That's kind of cool. So today I am joined once again by Ted Kubitis. Say hi, Ted.
Hello.
And then I'm also joined by Terry Power. Terry, how you doing?
Doing great this morning. Glad to be here, Clint.
Oh, those of you who don't know Terry, he's got a little mastermind out of his own. We're going to talk with him about Google Maps is how I met him. We're going to talk a little bit about masterminds and how he chose to build that. He did build it around a specific product, but that's okay. We'll forgive him for that. And let's see him give us some insights and map rankings, etc., and maybe some of the tools and stuff that he's working on or using right now to leverage maps. With that, we're going to talk about a little bit of housekeeping. SEO this week's podcast will be up today, updated on iTunes, and then I'm also getting it resubmitted to Spotify. There is a couple episodes already on Spotify, but we're getting that resubmitted today. Shouldn't have a problem with that. And also probably going to start syndicating this on some other video channels too, and we'll see how that works out. And then finally, the live webcasting to Facebook. I'm still working on the technicals and knocking that out, but so far it looks like Wirecast have guests come in on Skype and then stream out to YouTube and Facebook at the same time using Wirecast. So that's pretty big. It's a little bit technical. I might have to wait for my new computers to come in to knock that out. But mainly it's really the internet is the holdup. I got 100 gig or 100 megabytes per second, so I should be okay, but I don't want to press my luck. But that is that. All right.
Yeah, a quick question here. Can you add your podcast to Pocket Casts?
Pocket Casts. Let me write it down, Ken, and I'll check it out and see. I'll syndicate it anywhere they let me. So, really the hard part is just pulling off the audio and trying to clean it up a little bit, especially with this Hangouts layout that we got right now. Usually I can just record it directly through Wirecast and then clean up the audio that way. But yeah, but let me look at that. And if you guys have any other places you want me to syndicate the podcast to, feel free to let me know. Like I said, I'll send them out as many places as I can. And we'll see how it works out. Okay, let's see. I am going to switch over to the stories for this week. We only have 6. I went through 168 stories this week, plus or minus the few that I deleted early on.
Oh, I have a question. Is it possible to get these the URLs to the stories you review in the YouTube description?
Yeah, so what I did, and I'll make sure that I stay a little bit more up on it this from now on, is I have actually put in the description the link to the post that I create that accompanies the show on Digitaleer, and that's in the description now. So versus sending a whole bunch of links to a bunch of sites from my YouTube channel, and risking, I don't know, somebody reports me or whatever. It's just check out the site and then this week's episode is in the description, and you can click on that, and that's where all the links are. If you want to, you can watch the live stream or the video from my website as well. I prefer if you watch the live stream on the YouTube channel, since you can actually talk to me though. But yeah, that option's there.
And should people remember to ring the bell so they get alerts when you have new content?
Oh, see, look at this. Ted's all he's on it like a hobo on a hot dog.
and you're also trying to get to 1,000 subscriptions, right? So
I am. 1,000 subscribers. We just busted 500, which is pretty cool. Considering, we let the show die for since August, and then just restarted in January. So
yeah, we're not going to do.
Yeah, people are showing up, so I think it's a good deal. I'm pretty excited and happy this is working out. All right. And now that Ted sidetracked me, I'm going to go back to open this back up. Oh, one other thing. I don't know if you guys know, like the Apple magazines. It's Apple Mag is what it's called. It's Apple, and basically you can go in there and subscribe. There's some digital marketing ones and a bunch of other stuff inside of this Apple Magazine store. And there's a system that Ed Dale made. It's called Magcast, and I've had the stupid thing forever since he launched it. I just upgraded it the other day, and we're going to start putting these stories on Magcast as well. The difference is you're just going to get the stories, and you won't see the live performances or the live videos. I think I can put videos in there, but you'll get the recordings, obviously, to go along with the articles. Now, the reason I'm telling you guys that is not to get you to subscribe to something new, is to let you know that if you are putting out SEO content and you think it's worthy, then you need to go to my website, digitaleer.com/SEO this week. There are hyphens in between each one of those, SEO this week. And submit your articles in there so I can find them. And then once I start promoting the magazine and building that magazine up, I want to put like 5 to 10 articles in there, and it's going to be free. I'll put some advertising and stuff in there, maybe get some affiliate stuff, or maybe link to Buddy's products or whatever. But for the most part, the readers and everything will get it for free, and that's exposure, obviously, for me and whoever else has an article in there or is on the video show. So, well, once again, I called this out before when I had SEO This Week running all the time, is if you have some news, you have an article, and you think that you have written something that is better than the rest of the noise out there, submit it on the website. There's a form on the SEO This Week page, the main page for SEO This Week, and then we'll get you added in. I have no problem doing that whatsoever.
Not setting the bar very high there, Clint.
Say again?
Not setting the bar very high, just better than the noise that's out there.
Well, yeah, it doesn't. Once you read you read 200 articles a week, and you'll notice that everyone's saying the same exact crap, and just trying to put it in a different way. So,
do you recommend that they send a unique version of the article, or can they just send an exact copy for syndication?
They can put it as an exact copy. So the way Magcast works, it doesn't tie into Google, but it's really is for Apple users. So, but if you get a good magazine up there going, you can get a lot of exposure and make a lot of money doing that. Obviously, I'm not trying to monetize it that much. Maybe I can one day if I decide I want to be some kind of SEO reporter, but right now I just like doing SEO more. So, but I think it's a good way to kind of leverage our community and to help each other out. So, and maybe reach people that we're not necessarily reaching. So, i.e. potential clients, and we'll see how that all works out. All righty. Okay, so for the first story, it's PPC Geotargeting best practices. Now, the reason I put this in here is, I don't know about you, Terry and Ted, but when I do SEO, I like to run a PPC campaign for the clients first. $100, $150, nothing crazy, and checking out their keywords, i.e. their dream keywords. That's what I call them, because most clients come at you with the broadest terms ever that are really, really hard. And their service areas, because we do a lot of local, and find out the impressions and traffic of people that are actually there. And not a lot of people are doing that. Like, Terry, are you doing that for your clients?
With a new client, I do that right away, just to sort those keywords.
Yeah, and Ted, for the e-com stuff, because I know where your background is, your e-com stuff, did you guys do that too?
Oh yeah. I mean, you get the bulk of your revenue when all marketing channels are firing properly. You get the bulk of your revenue from paid. You still get 15% or more from organic, and you get your best margins in organic, but the paid is easier and quicker to scale.
Right.
The other thing is that some keyword niches can really vary on how you need to approach them. Like I've seen people target pay-per-click ads like in AdWords for something like, very high-end executive matchmaking. But those keywords, the target customers don't know that lexicon. So you get like no search volume on those keywords. But if they were to, say, go to YouTube and create a video about the service they offer and target by job title to executives who are unmarried, then they stand a chance to get some actual volume because they have an education problem where people don't know what to search. So I often think that, the keyword niche of what they're offering also comes into play.
Yeah, for sure. My best example, and I'm sure Ted has heard this before, but we had a client and they were selling ductless heating and cooling units. I don't know if you know what that is, but basically there's a unit on the outside and then they drill holes in your wall and run some pipes and go to the unit on the inside. And ductless heat pumps is really, there's a lot of traffic there. At the time it was $14,000 a month. So obviously that happened to be the dream keyword that this client wanted. So we set up this PPC geotargeting because they had zero interest in serving people outside of their area. We were selling for them like 11 to 15 units on average a week just through SEO, which is a significant margin for them. What they wanted was that ductless heat pumps. That was their target keyword, and only in this area. And that's all they were going to pay for SEO. That's all they wanted. Their PPC stuff. That's all they wanted to do. So we ran a PPC campaign for them, just finding out if it's going to be worth it. And it turns out in their specific service area, not one person searched. Not one. They didn't even get any impressions, much less a click. And when we set it up to get, some of the related terms from it, we found out it was ductless heating and cooling units. And they hadn't even thought about that. They didn't know that their customers were looking for it. And when you run that at a nationwide search, the search volume is low, but in their specific service area is actually way higher. And it was a lot easier for us to rank for that term. So that's why I wanted to highlight this post. I don't know if a lot of you guys are in PPC, but if you're doing an SEO campaign or you're going to put the time into, 3 to 6 months of an SEO campaign, do this PPC geotargeting. And you're going to not only help your clients out or yourself if you're doing SEO for yourself, but you're going to save yourself a lot of money and a lot of headache. In the end, and it's also going to help with your client retention because you've immediately proved value and you save the money right off the bat, and then 2, now you're targeting probably, in my guess, is going to be easier terms for those specific customers.
So, would you advise that people doing SEO services, should they try to talk a customer out of ranking for a term that has no search volume?
We don't talk them out of it in the initial phone call because obviously we want to close them and get them to become customers. If anyone has SEO clients, though, they know that the first couple months is when they're really sketchy. They want to see, show reports because that's what they've been told they have to look for as reports. They want to see rankings. They want to see analytics. And then that 30 days, they're like, you haven't done anything for me. Well, we just barely finished auditing your 1 million page website, guy. Come, simmer down. Having this and doing this helps you with that conversation. I call it a discovery call. I just got that from OMG guys and some other people that were calling it a discovery call. And during that discovery call is when I can present this PPC data at the end of the first month and say, here's the words that you wanted. Here's the words that AdWords and the impressions based off of your target area have said is what we should really be doing. And it's going to save you some money and some time because we can rank for these a lot faster than we can rank for these. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense.
Yep.
Makes sense. You got to be targeting the keywords that are being searched, not just the keywords you expect people to look up.
Yeah. And you can find this data really quick. Like it's not, you don't even have to pay for the whole $100. You know, on average, we're spending maybe 25 to 50. We're just running it for a week or two just to see, you know, so we can get some decent numbers off of it. So that's a good thing. So anyway, just go into this. It's a search engine journal post, PPC Geotargeting Best Practices Guide, and there's some good information in here. Obviously, you know, what is a geotargeting area, etc. One of the best parts here is the avoid unnecessary hyper-targeting, which means don't try to narrow that down like retarded, like right down to the, you know, I'm going to hyper-target to this one street or this one particular block. Use zip codes, maybe, you know, or a radius 10, 15, 20 miles, depending on the type of business that you're doing. And that'll help you out a lot better. And then another one, obviously, I haven't even been doing this. Split your campaigns by time zones. I've just been kind of running them to wherever we're at. So especially if you're doing international or you're doing a national type of business. So something to consider. So check out that post. Pretty good. Give me a second. I'm going to get a drink. Okay, the next site is begin.com. How to uncover the motivation of your audience is 3 simple ways to find search intent. If Kyle, or I think Kyle's talked about search intent. I know Ted's talked about search intent, but basically it's picking keywords based off of what the end purpose of the searcher is looking for. Ted or Terry, have you done much with search intent and keyword research?
Not a lot. No, I do. When I get a list of a couple hundred keywords, I do look through them for ones that are intent based, but don't do the research with that focus. You know?
Right. Yeah, I think you'll find that most people don't. Most people kind of think of keyword research as going into a tool, Google Analytics or Google AdWords keyword tool or SE Cockpit or whatever, and just looking at search volume. And then there's keyword research is, hey, let's find the one with search volume.
Yeah, in the latest Quora shared data. So if people might not know this, I create a tool called Quora, and there's an option to share data with the community anonymously. And so I can look at literally thousands of Quora reports in aggregate. And when I look at the search intent indicators on those records, we see a funnel. So there are 3 categories of search intent we look at. And the top of the funnel is the question, you know, what are many split AC units? And so those are the question keywords. And then the next part of the funnel is the sentiment queries. So those are the best mini split AC units. And then at the bottom of the funnel, you have your commercial intent queries, which is, you know, where to buy mini split AC units, you know, mini split prices. Those are commercial intent. And the volume of those, surprisingly, makes a funnel. You got most SEOs competing at the questions, the second most competing at the sentiment level, and the least amount competing at the commercial intent, which I found shocking. It makes sense after the fact, but I always did it in reverse. I always pounce on the commercial intent and work my way back to the questions. But Clint, what do you think about those buckets of the funnel?
I think that's actually a good way to look at it, because I've always looked at them just different terms, same thing as navigational, informational, and then purchase, or I'm ready to buy. Buyer essentially is kind of how I always looked at them. So that the way you just broke it down too, and actually creating your funnels that way, I didn't even think of that. That makes a lot of sense. I think I'm doing it. Well, I guess I'm doing it unconsciously, so that's kind of cool. So this post here is it's a different way of looking at keyword research. I have another way too. I'm going to show that probably in a different show. and just how I did it. I think I've went over it before, but basically we're going to look at keyword research and worrying about also finding other keywords and CTAs. But this method here is working on finding, just a little bit better of finding that what your buyers are looking for, and the purpose of that particular search. So primarily, navigational brands, Digitaleer or SEO this week, or SEO this week, episode 105. That is a navigational term. And then you get into informational, and then you get into the buyer keywords, or the commercial intent, like Ted said. So if you're creating pages for commercial intent, you're doing it Ted's way. You create your commercial intent page and optimize it for a commercial intent keyword. Then you use your informational words to create your supplemental pages and link to that using that silo that I taught in episode 103. I think we kind of are doing this. I can just say that out, just think about it as I'm talking it out in my head, that we're doing it already. But this keyword research method in this post is actually pretty good, and it gets you thinking about a different way of doing keyword research, a more effective way, in my opinion. And it doesn't really take much more time than doing the whole sort by search result or search by search volume. So check out this post. It's really, really good. Terry, do you have any video? I know you got the Mastermind. I'll go ahead and cut into that real quick. You have a Mastermind. You charge what, like $10 a month? I talked to you in Vegas, said you're charging way too not enough. Do you have any keyword research information inside of your Mastermind?
Just a couple of tools I use that pull up the Google Suggests, and then, especially since it's changed, Neil Patel's Uber Suggest, I like that, and Keyword.io and stuff. So I do mention some of the tools and how I use them.
Okay.
But this funnel Ted was mentioning, I think that's a natural result if you're doing SEO for very long. You start realizing the value of those Q&As, snippets and things like that. And creating articles for that middle stretch, and then maybe landing pages or actual call to actions for the commercial. This is a separate issue, but they should have done some spacing. That 3 belongs on line 2, not at the top. but whatever. It just bothers me. I'm like, what are you thinking? But anyway.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's SEO courses' fault, SEO teachers. There's not very many people that are teaching keyword research based off of intent. I think I can name 2. Just 2 right now off the top of my head, or where I see people actually saying, hey, look, the search numbers are great, but let's use some common sense and try to find people that, or 1, if you want to buy money or want to give you money, and then 2, want to give you traffic. And so I think a lot of people, we might have to have a tool show. I'll get you back in here, because you mentioned some that I use and a couple that I don't. I know Ted's got all kinds of crazy mad scientist stuff for keyword research too. So we might have to do a tool show, just kind of make sure that we're, at the end of the day, again, SEO this week and then tomorrow's show, SEO Fight Club, is designed to get you thinking and giving you better methods to get your work done. And I think none of it matters if we don't have keyword research right. So it's a really good topic for a longer episode, I think.
Never hurts to get a better perspective, or at least a different one.
Oh, for sure. All right, the next one, this might be interesting to Ted. Google may have a new user agent named Google Speaker. And what people are seeing is, especially in their server logs, this Google Speaker shows up. Google hasn't officially recognized that, yes, it's ours, but, if it looks like a Google bot, it probably is a Google bot. So the guess here, or the summation, is that perhaps this has something to do with the speaking tools like Google Assistant. Google Go fetches a page here from Danny Sullivan, and it'll read that information out loud. So this might be, I'm not sure how we can leverage knowing that there is a good one, but I think you can look inside of your server logs and find out if Google Speaker is running your website. Look at the pages that it's spending the most time at, and then work at optimizing those a little bit more for voice search. That's in my opinion, that's probably how you would level it.
Yeah, the first question that comes to mind is, are the ISPs coming from Google registered ISPs, or are they coming from hardware devices at consumer locations?
The original one here, they talked about that. Then yeah, see, it resolves to Google. So that's the IP that's coming from, and it resolves to Google.
Okay,
that's about as technical as they dug into that.
So then it's unlikely, if that pattern holds true for everyone, then it's unlikely to be something like a Google, assistant in somebody's home. It's more likely to be a cloud service originating out of Google.
Yeah, maybe, or like Google Go. I don't even know what that is. Google Go fetches a page and makes sure it's up-to-date information before it translates it to read aloud. That's pretty interesting. So it's maybe this Google Go is feeding the answers that Google Assistant or Google Home is giving you.
Yeah. So they're denoting that it is a Google service that's making the request, but it's not Google bot. They're differentiating for whatever reason.
Huh. That's pretty good. I think, though, honestly, if you are into your server, hopefully I'm right. What do you think, Ted? If you're checking out your server logs, if you're getting that crazy deep in there, you find out if that bot's crawling, then it's more than likely, based off of the information that Danny Sullivan gave, then that you getting some voice searches for that particular thing. So go in there and make that a little bit better.
Well, it adds a new dimension to your web content. So if your web content is going to be read aloud, then you actually want to really consider your phrasing and your grammar, and does it make sense when you speak it out loud? And one of the tricks that writers have when they are writing and they know it's going to be converted into audiobook later is they'll highlight the text in their editor, and they'll use their operating system's text to speech, and they'll listen to their dialogue, they'll listen to their writing and see if it has the flow. So, my guess is that if you're creating content that'll be read aloud, that you need to start doing, what those writers do who publish ultimately to audiobooks.
Wow, that's actually pretty smart, because I use a method of variation of that to actually create new content. So let's say I want to write an article completely about this, but I don't want to just regurgitate the crap that they say. I'll open up a Word document and drag and dictate and read out a version of this paragraph, and then a version of this sentence, and then a version of this sentence. So essentially I'm writing about the exact same thing and just doing it in a different tone. And when drag and dictate comes out with the new article, it's natural speaking the way that it's written. So that's pretty interesting.
And surprisingly important to, when you do that, Clint, because I use that, I use my dragon all the time, is to speak not grammatically correct, but human speak. Doesn't matter if you end in a preposition. It's okay to say that. Don't let the grammar police. Those are for written articles, not for speech. So
yeah. I don't really mess around with grammar too much. You guys can read my website and see that right off the bat. I have Grammarly to make me sound not so much like a complete idiot, but surprisingly enough, English was my best. All my best courses in college and in high school. But I just hate the process of grammar. I like just writing and spotting it out there. So.
And And FYI, the various cloud platforms have very cheap text-to-speech conversion. So if you want to go, multimedia with your content, you can go that direction. And they go the other way too. They have very cheap transcription. So if you're going from audio to text, so there's a lot of cool tricks and hacks.
Sweet. The next one is how to redesign your website without affecting your SEO.
There's another case of the amazing language skills without affecting your SEO.
Well, you can tell when people are when effective pops in, you're like, huh, okay. But the reason I wanted to show this is this article actually just outlines 4 simple steps, and it's really, a lot of people make a move or a redesign harder than it has to be, and at its base, really it is these 4 things. Just do these 4 things and you're not going to screw up your SEO. Unless, of course, you redesign your website and change all your URLs, then you're going to have a problem. But if you're just redesigning it and you're cleaning it up and fixing your H tags and all that stuff all at one time, you'll actually find you'll get a drop at first, and then it just comes right back up. So just follow these 4 simple steps, and then you'll be good to go. I'm kind of going to leave it at that. There's not really a whole lot more to talk about with this whole process. But that's a good article just to give you the steps. Ignore the title, obviously. Here's another good one I like is Google Lighthouse is going to do platform packs. So if you don't know, when you run a Lighthouse right now, it's kind of like just looking at the HTML, and it's not taking into consideration that you're using a CMS. So they're fixing Lighthouse so it'll actually recognize your CMS and then what you can do inside of your CMS. And they're starting with WordPress, which is really, really awesome. So this is, I don't know, I got my, give a good golf clap for Google and thinking of this and knocking it out. I think it's going to be a really good game changer for those of us that rely mostly on WordPress. I do WordPress just because it's easy. Why hard code a site when you can just throw up a theme and ta-da, it's designed, right? So I think this is going to be a real good thing. What would be really cool is if they had an API and then we can plug it into some of those SEO tools like Pop or Quora, just to get a little bit more perspective off of off of our comparison sites and how we're looking based off of what Lighthouse is giving. So I know Lighthouse right now has an API, but I'm not sure if these platform packs are going to do it. But this is, it's awesome, and I can't wait for it to come out. There's more information in there if you want to go ahead and check it out. And here's a link to get a sample of one of the reports. So something I'm definitely going to follow and let you know when they release it.
Yeah, and I've mentioned Lighthouse in my mastermind before, and in fact, this past Sunday we talked a little bit about that article because right now they're asking for input from Google users, and it's a chance to, with a concerted effort, to maybe steer it so that they do include an API, things like that in it. So
yeah, they might. It's already probably built in with in the Chrome and the Dev Tools. There's a couple other tools that it's hardwired to now. The PageSpeed Insights that's hardwired into Lighthouse now. So I think that is one of the tools that's not going to go away. And since they're integrating it into so much, we might have that for the long haul, which would be pretty awesome. We'll see how it works. If anything, it makes for a great tool for your pre-site audits. You're doing your sales and saying, hey, look, here's this, this, and this.
Yeah. Hey, this is what Google thinks of your site. We need to fix this.
Yeah. And just caution people who are using tools from Google. If you can't fix it, don't point it out as an issue. So like a WordPress theme might kick off something inside of one of those tools. And the last thing you want to do is say, hey, we need to get this fixed. But if you fix it, you're going to fry their WordPress theme. So just be careful with that. And the last article is posted by Christina. I'm not even going to slaughter her last name. But what she's doing and actually going in and talking and watching these Google Webmaster highlight hangouts and putting articles up, explaining some of the things that she found in there interesting. If you've ever watched one of those, they're like one of the most boring and painful shows ever. Not as painful as mine, but pretty damn close. And it's really hard to keep following up and paying attention with those. Christina has gone in and just kind of broken these down. This is the second one that she's doing, and I keep encouraging her. And I wanted to highlight the hard work she's doing because it's awesome, and it saves you a whole lot of time. Here's some of the topics that she's talked about. One that I really liked is, let's see here. All right, is it technical? You can show authority of taking part. There you go. It's called the. Is there a particular type of schema that can help with featured snippets and voice search results? And there's actually a schema called speakable markup. I looked into it a little bit, and I think it's something that we need to see if we can develop more and find out a use for it, and certainly test to see if that's going to help with feature snippets and voice search. Single variable testing, there's probably no way to see if it's going to kick off. Voice search, I'm not sure either, especially if you're doing single variable with voice search, but maybe in a live environment. Ted, I don't know, maybe you can come up with a way after you research that and see if there's a way we can test it and see if it's viable to help us out. But they mentioned it. It's kind of new. Actually, when you click on that link, I think Google's page says it's beta. We'll let it come up. Yeah, see? So beta, and it's subject to change. I think it's, this is really a cool opportunity for especially if it's using this playback, best suited for playback text-to-speech stuff. So we'll see how it works.
It's going to be tricky because I don't know of a tool yet that tells you where you rank in voice search results.
Yeah, that's good. That'll be awesome to make, though.
I do have all the schema ready to go. I have a development build with over 300 factors for the JSON LD specification. And so I really want to find out if there are some, magic schemas hidden within that specification. The reason it's not launched yet is because of the people on lower end PCs. It would absolutely crush their computer to just instantly jump to 1,000 factors. So I'm trying to figure out ways to release these factors where people can have them off by default and then turn them on if they have the firepower. So I'm looking at settings profiles as kind of being that answer. So I have to develop that solution so I can release all these cool factors.
Yes, in particular for this one, I think it'd be something just to try out. Since it is in beta, you know how that goes. If Google makes a beta, it may or may not stay. But they're coming out with some new ones too, like software app and top places list. I'm going to start using top places list on my silos. So it might be something that you guys can look at too. Just dig in there and keep an eye on that Google search and their references for structured data, and you can see some of the new ones that they're going after. Just kind of makes your work a little bit easier when you're thinking about which schema should I drop where. So, Terry, do you do a lot of schema stuff?
I do, just because I don't use WordPress as much as perhaps I should. I'll just code a site, but I don't actually build too many sites anymore, so that's not a big deal. But I do like throwing in schema, especially with local, and I do mostly local.
Yeah. Well, I think if you can code a site and make it look good and it's usable, then that's probably better. I just, value for time, I just never got that good with HTML. Like I can read it and smash around with it and break things, but to like design a whole site out of it, that's just not something that I had any interest in.
Well, and when you hire someone else to build sites, they're going to do WordPress. So
yeah. And WordPress just works, so that's what I like about it. That's it for the story. So, folks, if you have any questions for Terry, Ted, or I, go ahead. Now is a good time to drop those down. While you're doing that, Terry wanted to talk a little bit about Google Maps since we're at the halfway point in the show. Let's go with, I think I'm just going to kind of vary it up, and really I want to talk to you. First question is, what is probably your number one tip for actually optimizing the map listing itself?
Optimized images and videos in your points.
In the points
of interest.
In the points of interest.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about is like a GMBs. Do you do a lot of stuff with the client's GMBs?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're optimizing those, do you look at, are there's
with theirs, I meant that business site that Google gives you?
Yeah.
That's a big key right there.
Okay.
Because in there Google supplies the map, so you're lost on the map part. But they let you put service or products, and whenever Google lets you suggest you fill something out, you should fill it out. So they got places for products and services, and you can keyword stuff those with your products and services. You're allowed to upload photos, and they encourage you to upload photos and videos. Of course, those should all be optimized, geotagged for your your client's area.
Have you tested those out? Because I've tested other Google properties, and they're stripping the EXIF. They're stripping the EXIF and the IPC data out of those images. So have you tested that? It's a little bit harder with maps, but testing just uploading them and then versus putting the EXIF.
And I'm a firm believer that Google still reads it before it strips them. Just because I've seen the benefits of uploading a shitload of optimized images versus just blank images.
Right.
So, and of course, when you do your GMB posts, those images carry the metadata. And every time you do a post, it creates a new page on that business.site.
Okay.
Which has its own URL that you can, push using whatever linking strategies you want and stuff.
Right. And
I was going to tell you though, we talked last night. You mentioned, talking about maps. Did you see there in Britain where I'm assuming it's kids at the school, changed the name of the school online on Google to Prison and Hell on Earth? So in the maps, when anybody would click on the school, I mean, it was fixed, but of course, people took screenshots before that, so they're out there. But they went in and edited a map because the school had a unverified place listing, and they assume it was a student, but somebody went in there and changed it to Prison and Hell on Earth from something in language school or whatever it was.
Yeah, I think
pretty cool.
That goes back into there's that where that bug is it where Google was just allowing people to suggest edits and then applying them automatically. That's probably just shows that they haven't figured that out yet. And how
they fixed some of them. You can no longer go in and change the open date. You know how they'll say when the business opened?
Yeah.
They'll change it to the future, so the business would be closed because it wasn't going to open till say March of 2019.
Yep.
So it would stay, it would disappear because it's waiting on March.
Yep.
But they did close that one, and that was a big one because you could just wipe out all your competition if you wanted, and you'd have your own one pack. And
yeah, I think the downside of that whole user edits is that it gives an opportunity for people who have less than decent morals to go in there and screw with other people's businesses. I'm a black hat, but I'm not, an asshole. You know what I mean? So you're dicking with other people's businesses. And the fact that Google has those in there, like I've had people make suggestions to mine, and then I can either accept it or just leave it sitting there as a pending change. There's no way to decline that.
Unfortunately, Google does a poor job of notifying the business owners too. You don't always get notified that someone has, made a change or suggested a change until you happen to check
it.
And then the client calls me and says, "Hey, what happened to on my GMB? Now it says this or that, and if Google doesn't tell you, you just, until you find it, you're screwed." Yeah. And I saw an article this morning in India. they're getting hit with what they're calling black hatters, but unscrupulous people who are posting photos to GMBs that have a phone number as part of the image. So they're posting them to all these wine and beer stores for delivery call, and then you call these people and they're taking your credit card money up front, and of course they're not delivering, and you go bitch at the store. They don't know anything about it because it wasn't their number. You know what I'm saying? So they're just screwing people over, taking their money and not delivering. And you looked up, I don't know, someone's beer or wine store, and you just see these images. Oh, there's a phone number, call for delivery, and people are calling. And
well, I think there's going to be assholes everywhere, and for whatever reason, right now, it just seems like that country is producing a lot more than normal. I have a lot of Indian friends, friends that'll tell you that, and then they're everywhere, obviously. So it used to be the Nigerian princes, and now it's the Indian hackers, and then the Koreans are using the search to change your to blast your search and create search pages on your website with porn and redirects, etc. So it's not just just the Indians, but those guys are taking things that really could benefit a business very well, and just making it horrible and kind of ruining it for everybody in our market. In particular, that method. So posting, doing it, having a local guides account, taking pictures on your phone, pulling that into a watermarking app, and then posting your logo and your phone number on there. That's not black hat. You're doing them a favor, and in return, you're getting a benefit out of it. And so those people there'll be a lot of people like you kind of bundle that into one thing you're saying is black hat. I think it's a really viable method, but it's just as a consumer, proceed with caution, unfortunately, because there's some dickhead that kind of read it for everybody.
Yeah, Google's made a lot of changes in the last year with their. I mean, last year I could rank maps all over the place.
Yeah,
I had a client. He had the top 8 on the front page, and 3 of them were maps ranking. And now you can't rank a map. Now they're tier 1. Powerful tier 1, but you're not going to rank them now.
So when you're talking maps, though, in that case, you're talking about My Maps.
Yes, but you could use them, point to your GMBs.
For organic, yeah. So that kind of lead into the next one is, are you still building those My Maps? Because I know that they're harder to get indexed. They do index. Google still crawls them, but they're harder to get indexed and stay indexed so that you can rank them. So are you still leveraging those for your GMB rankings?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Because with I've been a Google Maps developer for years, so I played around with the maps and for a while, and they're just, you can stuff so much in them without being accused of keyword stuffing, when that's actually what you're doing. Is you're stuffing everything you're putting in them is pointing to whatever your money page is, or the GMB, or what a video, whatever you're posting it to. But you can stuff the hell out of every point of interest you can put in there. And I do what they call hijacking pins. If you look up, I don't know, chiropractor in Omaha, you can take a look at that map and change it so that all of those pins in my map point to my client, instead of a variety of them. It doesn't affect the real world. It doesn't affect a real Google map that if you did a search for chiropractors in Omaha, but my map can show that. And I can put my map out there, and Google, once they index it, then they recognize it as a map. And we all are allowed to have maps in our Gmail account.
Yeah.
And with the rise of the local and GMBs, they make a great tier 1 to point to those GMBs. You point to your photos in there, and you point to those posts and that business site.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of cool things that you can do with that, and especially if you know how to use the KML. in Google Earth Pro, you can do some pretty badass things with that. So I liked you've taught that method before, the maps thing, and I think that was one of the reasons why I saw you or learned of you, as you were talking about your custom maps. And I don't know if a lot of people have seen those, but the custom map that I saw, it damn near looked like a dartboard. And you had like the business and then the rings around it and all that other madness. And I was like, oh, how the hell is he making that? And that's when I started following you and just kind of learning and seeing, trying to figure out what you're doing. Because I know a lot of people say, oh, those don't work. They're fancy and they look cool, but they don't work. But once you actually dig into what you did and how they're those pins are actually, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but they're almost interlinking and going right to, ultimately all those pins end up somehow related to the actual business pin that you're trying to promote in the first place.
Yeah. I did a tutorial video and I used as an example one of my clients in Chicago, and I didn't know that at the time, but as I was setting up to do it, there's over 80 zip codes in Chicago, which I didn't know. So I just did a pin per zip code, which centers in those zip codes. It's in the center of each of those zip codes. But if you look at the map from like Illinois, it just looks like a cluster of pins.
Right.
Because Chicago's a big city, but you're not looking at it on a one-on-one scale, So they're just all these concentric rings and odd shapes of pins, and every one of them, refers to that. You center your client's page, obviously. So it's 15 minutes you can build that up and blast it out and have a my map full of pins of points of interest. And each of those points of interest, Google already recognizes as being associated with that keyword. So you're just reinforcing that and saying, not just is it Joe's chiropractic, more important, it's my customer's chiropractic or whatever. So.
Right. Does that help does doing that help with, those tools that have, like your business in a centroid, and then, they have the little search boxes and it turns greener and red based off of location. Does that help with that process?
Yes, because it reinforces that your business is not just at address A, but it's within so many miles of whatever radius their service area happens to be. Or if they're a brick and mortar, people routinely come from this suburb or this suburb in to, get their vacuum fixed or whatever it is their product or service they offer. So like there's what's that, Falcon Local, that shows all those red and green pins.
Yeah, local Falcon.
Yeah, there we go. And it just reinforces to Google that it's not just a point on a map, but it's an area, around that point, and people the next street over and the next block over and the next city over, maybe all, can use that product or service. So Google My Maps and Google GMBs, they're Google, and Google loves Google. So, might as well feed them with it.
Right. I think that local Falcon, I haven't used it personally. I've tried the beta version on another site like Fleffer or some crazy name like that. With the same concept, I see how that could be used as a sales tool, and then also as a measurement stick for SEO campaigns. So that's a pretty interesting concept. I think that I like.
Sales tool definitely. Then, like you say, as a measuring stick, a before and after, or even a monthly included in a monthly report or something like that.
Right.
But I tried the beta free version and couldn't get it to give me results that were consistent at all, even doing the same search. So I've talked to somebody the other day, and they're going to show me later this week how it's supposed to work, because apparently I must have done something wrong. I don't know, but either that or it's just lousy software. I don't know.
On a minor side note, I keep getting distracted by the URL over your shoulder, Terry, because it's reverse on my screen. So maybe you can send that URL to Clint and he can put it in his post in case people want to find it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, find that, and then the video that you referenced, how you're building your maps up. is particularly, the ones that you want to share. So
that's just terrystipsandstrategies.com.
Terry's Tips and Strategies. So, and he's got some videos on there too. You got to click around a little bit because, he hardcoded that site, so it's absolutely horrible.
They post it on Amazon. It's in the cloud. It's not even on a web server. Well, it's an Amazon web server.
Yeah.
But and my membership is,
yeah, it's $10.
Lousy. It's lousy as far as the setup and all that stuff. I think it's got good content, but it's not.
It's $10. Yeah. You know what I mean? They're not going to get a full membership site out of it for $10. You're just
paying for the boat.
There's no money in doing that. So, I think honestly that's probably a good price if you're looking to help people out and just support your server costs, for example. Or buy some coffee so you can.
I got an Amazon bill yesterday for 15 cents again, so I've got to keep those costs down.
Yeah, that must be horrible for you. All right, so I'm gonna leave it at that. Like I said, Terry's got a mastermind. What's the website again, Terry?
Terry's Tips and Strategies.
Terry's Tips and Strategies. Check him out. Again, it's $10 a month. Hopefully he'll raise the price, and then we'll put a membership product behind there. I tried to talk to him at SEO Rockstars to do that because I just think the value is really there. He's a really good teacher, but if you're, in all honesty, if you're like me and you want people to talk fast, because I naturally talk fast, so I kind of ingest fast, just get yourself a video speed booster. Terry does not leave the steps out. He's not going to give you some half-ass method, that is not what he's doing. There's nothing here that's, it's not magic going to rank you in a bajillion days or whatever for a bajillion things, but it's one more piece to that overall SEO puzzle. And it's specific, really good for map stuff. So I would check out Terry's videos. Watch the free ones that he's got on the website. If you like his style, then join his mastermind, and you'll get access to more of those, which he keeps, like you said, on the cloud. You can see him in Skype in the gallery, or you can get access to his Facebook group, and you'll see all his videos there. And if you want to help Terry out, you like what he's doing, then make him a damn membership site so that he can post the videos in some kind of order. All right, so I'm going to go into the questions that will close that out. Ted's been in there banging out a bunch of them, or answering a bunch of them, so I think we're doing okay. Let's see. Ted, is it possible to give any exact time that a web page can reach first page? So generally, how to estimate a page can rank for a keyword in a certain time. I think, Ted, doesn't look like you try to answer that. So I'm going to give my perspective, and then since he asked you, we'll have you kind of make sure that we're both talking the same thing. So what I look for when I'm trying to estimate how much or how long it's going to take, I want to look at the keyword difficulty. I look at the competition. Are there any 800-pound gorillas in there? Amazon is an 800-pound gorilla, so look for those type of websites. And then I look at the power or the overall authority, as it were, of the site I'm trying to rank. And that's how I make my estimates of how long it's going to take. For sales purposes, regardless if I know I can rank them in a month or a week or 6 months, I always tell clients 3 to 6 months. And I never give ranking guarantees because we don't control Google. Google can change the algorithm tomorrow and take my 3 to 6 months and make it 6 to 9, pretty damn quick. But that's how I estimate how long it's going to take to rank a page. Ted, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I tried to avoid giving exact time frames because that sounds like a recipe to have to backpedal. I'd much rather, say to someone, well, let's see what I can accomplish in a month. And then I can start a lot of things in motion and, see what things are easy and what things are going to be more difficult. And then we can always look backwards and say a month got us X. But when you start calling the shot, people start looking at your accuracy and precision, and SEO just isn't that accurate and precise. So, I'd be reluctant to say I can get you to page 1 in 12 days because I'd feel very foolish when that didn't happen if we found complicating factors.
Yeah. I've seen a couple of models where people are like pay to rank or, pay me after I rank, which in my opinion is really stupid because I can just run around and get people to do that. And then after they may rank me, I'd be like, nah, I don't want to pay you now. And that shit happens all the time. So, but I've also seen people that do the guaranteed rankings, and you wonder, from an ethics point of view, are they guaranteeing the rankings for the term that they want that actually converts and makes clients, or are they guaranteeing a page 1 ranking and just getting it on some crazy long tail term that's really easy anyway? So, Terry, you got any input on that?
I do it about the same way you do, Clint, except I don't tell the client. That's for my own purposes to look at it and go, oh, this will be fairly easy, or this is going to be pretty tough. But I, of course, now I use Pop, but I used to just look at their page, because a lot of times I could say, oh, well, shit, look at that title tag. Look at that. I mean, that obviously just cleaning this page up is going to give them a bump, so, but yeah, look at the competition and the complexity of the keywords they want to rank for. But
yeah. Are you a Quora user, Terry?
No. Ted has offered me a trial, and I was just, I told him if I got a two-week trial, it'd be 3 weeks before I'd get to using it. And so I need to,
So Terry, when we get off here, the first thing, the first thing you need to do is take advantage of that trial. And then he's got some other tools in there, and there's one called Quora Outreach that what you just talked about, Quora Outreach does for you like in 15 seconds.
Well, not just that. I was fascinated with his video of Quora Page.
Yeah, and then there's Quora Page too.
Oh my gosh, for cloud, because I like to play in the cloud anyway. That would make perfect cloud pages with auto redirects and hidden redirects and stuff. So
yeah, I think that'll work out. But, try it. Yeah, you should jump all over that. And if you guys don't, I have an affiliate link, but I'm not going to give it to you. Just go to Ted's site, look at Quora, watch the training videos. If you need help with it, reach out to me or Ted before you buy it, because it's not cheap. And then we'll, if you just have 1 or 2 pages you want to run, contact me or Ted. Ted's just probably going to send you to me anyway, and we'll get the pages run for you so you can see the power of Quora and what it's doing for you.
I've gotten reports before, from people I know that have it, and I recommend it to people all the time. I just haven't taken the time. Yeah. Sorry, Ted.
No, I mean it's
do it myself.
It's a lot to take in. Most people get it and they don't realize how much data and analysis is in the output. Yeah. So really, I'm giving you all the ammunition you need. But people can be overwhelmed with that if they don't work with data every day. If you get a Quora report and you're new to it and you're easily overwhelmed, just ignore everything except the roadmap. And when you use the roadmap, just cherry pick 5 or 10 of the easy ones and knock them out.
And if you're in a basic SEO, it's probably too much for you. Stick with Pop. But as you get your intermediate and advanced skills, get into Quora, because it'll make that learning curve a lot smaller and you'll do it a lot faster. I thought I knew a lot of shit, and then every time Quora gets updated, I learn something new. So there's more than just getting the benefit of the rankings from there. You're actually making yourself better.
Yeah, and this new version that I'm trying to get out today or tomorrow, Quora 4.8, it has a new factor that's blowing my mind. It's a number of non-zero factors. It's basically a rough estimate of your factor diversity on the page, and it correlates stronger than backlinks. And it's showing that, the average website on page 1 has, about 33 factors, and the number 1 website often has like 50 or 60 factors. And it's just really cool seeing factor diversity in play.
That sounds like a whole show right there. All right, next question is from Lewis Houston. You spoke last week about taking an expired domain. And let's see, you spoke in the last week's episode about a 301 a page from an expiring domain to the money in flight? Can you explain that process? Talked about that earlier, actually. Terry had that same question, so it's kind of good that we go over it. So there's two ways to do it. You can redirect 301, redirect the expired domain to the normal way, just 301 to run it to the homepage. Typically, in cases where I do that, it wasn't a big site anyway. There's probably not a whole lot of traffic, but it's got one or two backlinks that I want. I will just at the register 301 that domain to the money site. And now, and then if you want to hurry that process along, send some traffic through the backlink that you wanted in the first place, and Google will find that new backlink and you get some more power from it. You won't see a lot of results from that. Just doing that one thing, usually on average, what I'm seeing now is about 60 days. And I think that goes along with the conversation that Ted and I had last week, is that the domain is expired. Google's crawling around the backlinks and finding this domain and is no longer alive. And they're just kind of saying, well, and deleting all of the power from it. And then when I'm sending traffic through that old backlink again, it's refreshing and Google's going, oh, okay. And now I'm getting the juice back. So that's why I think that average is probably about 30 to 60 days where I'm seeing results from that method. The other method is to do it at the HT access level and by page. The easiest way to pull this off is to get Yoast Premium or any other tool that interconnects with Search Console. And when you redirect to the money site, any page is getting traffic, you redirect that to the page on your website where you want that traffic to funnel. And in turn, you're going to funnel the power. The downside of doing that is that you're going to be chasing soft 404s in your Search Console until those traffic backlinks are picked up. But once those traffic backlinks are all properly redirected to the specific pages, the soft 404s go away. And that's how you handle that. So the example I gave last week was I bought a domain that had a bunch of users. And instead of sending those users and all that stuff just to my homepage, I've 301 those to the user pages of my target website. And that, so it makes sense of why it's there. It's still a user. And then I just link out from the user pages. So that's kind of how you handle that. It really depends on the quality of the expired and what you're looking for from backlinks. If you're buying one with a whole crap ton of backlinks and they got some traffic, you may also look at just turning it into a PBN. But I build my PBNs like real websites, and I don't have time for a whole lot of projects. So it's just easier for me to do the 301 thing. And it's easier to teach a VA how to fix those soft 404s. So let's see. Mike Carson, a personal observation. Does it seem like Google is moving more of the content control away from the publishers and slowly moving more of that control into their own resources? For example, showing more information in the result snippets like questions, products, etc. It would seem these options would hinder you from getting traffic credit to your website. How do you see this affecting your rankings? Ted, do you have any opinions on that?
Sorry, could you repeat that? I was responding to a chat question.
No, that's too long.
No.
So basically, in a nutshell, is how Google's pulling in data from other people's websites and creating rich snippets, and people also ask and
what's this the
results? Yeah. Do you think that's going to be a trend that will continue to get worse and worse in our perspective? Or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Google used to show 10 organic web results on the first page, and they secretly went to 9, and nobody noticed. Like, all of us lost 10% of our page 1 rankings, and nobody complained about it. And they totally stealth that in there. And
now it's at 7 for most results.
Yeah, so they're taking away even more. So do I think it'll continue? Yes, because I think ultimately Google wants to be an ad search. You know, they want to make revenue and deliver shareholder value. And there's this legal obligation for fiduciary responsibility that they have for their shareholders. And so they must do what's best for them, not what's best for you.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think whatever keeps people time on page in the search results, whatever satisfies the search and leads to the next one that brings more ad opportunities. And the conspiracy theorist in me, so put on my tinfoil hat here, I'll put on the disclaimer. You know, if I was at Google and I was in charge of balancing the profitability of the ads, and Google will deny this, and they have denied this, and it's probably not true. But if I was in a mythical, hypothetical role like that, I would want to make sure that the organic web results weren't too good. I'd want them to be good enough that the ads still perform, but not so good that they draw clicks away from the ads.
I don't think you're too far off, because if you think about it, what is they want to end the search. They want to end the search for the user. But if you look in local, they're not ending the search. They're putting more directories. So they're giving the results of the search more searches. You got to go to some other place to do another search. So I think that's really sound when you think about it.
And so I see searches all the time. Like I'll see, you know, a 3-letter, you know, mid-tail keyword that should obviously go to Zappos for like shoes or something. And there it is, you know, middle to bottom of page. And it's like, why is it doing that? You know, it's like a clear winner on page, and, you know, it's clearly something that makes people really, you know, happy as far as their service and their product. And so I just keep encountering things that make me wonder, but I don't really have any proof. So it's all tinfoil hat theory, and that probably isn't the case, but it makes me wonder, and should make you wonder too.
Yeah, well, if you're hearing your theory and then you look at the local search results, that's pretty damn sound. You know, other than Google saying, no, we're not doing that, you know, prove it. You know, I don't see how they're ending search by having the directories in there. So that makes a lot of sense.
It's an evolution. Google used to pride themselves on getting rid of you as quick as possible.
Yeah.
You know, 2.8 seconds or 2.28 seconds, here's your results, go. And their goal was to, when you punch something in, to have you on another website, you know, inside of a second. And now their goal is to keep you on Google. And I don't see it quitting going that way. It's obviously profitable for them.
For sure. Next question. How do you cluster the keywords and map them to existing pages? So that's pretty good question. I don't know how to answer this in a way that everyone can get. What I do is I create a page for one keyword. So obviously you can rank one page for multiple keywords, and that's awesome. But I optimize it always for one keyword. And then I'll let it go and sit. And if, assuming that I've done my work correctly, I get some traffic. And that traffic is also going to come from supplemental terms, longer tail words, etc. And I get that data out of Search Console and get Clicky. I have Clicky hooked up, so I get 2 analytics running on my website, so I can get as much information as possible. And then those supplemental words, I'll either start building anchor text backlinks to that same page, and it'll increase the ranking for that supplemental word, or make an entirely new page for it. So if I'm looking at clustering keywords, and this is a question we had with Ted, actually. You guys are like, I don't know, premonitions here or whatever, but so it was, how are you building your structures with or without? Ted had a hard time asking this question. Now I'm having a hard time spitting it out too. Is what structure do you use on your website with your silos to keep everything related? So hopefully Ted doesn't mind, but if you have a restaurant and
you can use my example exactly. I already anonymized it.
okay, so basically if you have a website and you're selling food, let's say you're a grocery store and you're selling food. So you have fries, food, because you also sell home cleaning products and all that other madness, right? But you have the food section, and then you have Mexican food. So there's another subdirectory. And now you have tacos. Or are you a restaurant that sells Mexican tacos? I think tacos are Mexican anyway, but but Mexican tacos. So which is better to cluster all your content with that? And it's really, to answer your question, it is what are you selling and how are you doing it? On my website, I talk about SEO, I talk about social media, I talk about PPC, I talk about web design. So my categories are SEO, social media, PPC, web design. Anything under those big keywords goes in there. So if it's a long tail of SEO, it goes in the SEO category. My categories are also pages. I deleted the category page and I have a page for SEO, so now it's the top of my funnel. And the category page 301 is 301 to the SEO page. So that's why if you look at some of my URL structures, it looks a little dinked because it's got SEO-1. Because the SEO category is actually the original. There's a 301 there to the SEO-1. It's just the way WordPress works. So that's how I cluster my terms and how I build those structures using directories or categories, or however you want to do it. Hopefully, Ted, now that hearing that in person versus text, that makes a little bit more sense.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see. Where do you place schema, header or footer? Terry.
Header.
Ted.
Depends on the type of schema. If it's micro formats, micro data, or that weird obscure bibliography one you like, it's got to be in the body. But if it's JSON LD, it could be header or body.
Yeah. Typically, it depends on what you're writing your schema about. For the most part, you can just put it in a header and you'll be okay. But if you are, you do article is typically wrapped around the body. If you're doing images, it's usually wrapped around the image. If you're doing videos, it's wrapped around the video. So, but obviously there's plenty of ways of doing it. Yes or no? Implement schema with Google Tag Manager. Terry.
No.
Ted.
Seems tricky because how do you do it dynamically? I guess you could have variables on your page and then your tag manager reads the variables and creates the right schema, but it seems like delicate and I'd be worried about breaking it if you have to use Digitaleer to get the proper schema at the time tag manager renders. So maybe a little bit more complicated than it should be.
Yeah, I think it's complicated to the point where most people probably shouldn't do it, because unless you really know what you're doing with Tag Manager. Like there is one of the viewers that he implements with Tag Manager, Ken Tippins, and I have done it as well. But it's unless you do it a lot, then you got to remember the process and make sure you're putting in the schema in the right place and it's firing at the right time, like Ted said, etc. So typically, I just don't even bother doing Tag Manager anymore.
And remember, JavaScript is very slow execution time. So if you want a very optimized, fully loaded page render time, then you kind of want to try to minimize what you're doing in Tag Manager.
Yeah. Maybe Ken, he's a user of it, and see if you notice that it's slowing down your sites, or anyone else for that matter. Let's see. RSS Authority Sniper from Lisa Allen. Cool tool. Check that out if you want to use it. I don't mind it. I use their supplemental service as well. That's just another way to get a little bit more promotion and stuff. Does it rank websites? I honestly, I haven't used it consistently enough to say that it does, but it sure as hell helps with indexing. Let's see. Derek Wozniak is here. Whoop, whoop. Let's see, Sniper 2. Somebody check sites to rank for the term. I'm looking for more questions. Looks like Ted's got most of them now. Let's see. Hey guys, I've seen spam pages with gibberish PHP in the URL. These pages pop up a window and they just get closed. The thing which surprises me is seeing a very large scale in the SERPs. That's actually it's a black hat technique. And then Ted come up with something similar. He'll talk about it when he's ready, and he'll do it on his
time exploit.
Yeah, time exploit. But basically, what you're seeing there is broad is you create a mass page site with whatever content you want to rank, and then you put overlays in, and those overlays kick in that pop up, and they actually rank really well. And you build those at scale, not because you want to, but because that's how they're effective, and they work a lot faster. So instead of making a 1,000 page site, you make a 30,000, 40,000, 100,000 page website, and then throw those pop-ups in there after everything ranks. Google ranks eventually, you get a bunch of long tail traffic. 301, you make some money, delete, rinse, repeat. So it's, are they spam pages? Well, yeah, I guess they are if you got there and you didn't find what you were searching for. But in truth, those work like gangbusters and make a lot of money. So spam is in the eye of the beholder.
And if they lead you, they redirect you to it where you wanted to go anyway.
Yeah. Or they solved your problem.
Yeah.
But in some cases, people are searching for shemales. So if you found shemales, and there you go, ta-da! But if you're using, how a black hat method is used, it really dictates the morality of it. So if you're targeting long tail or short tail businesses and then sending it to a malware page that drops malware, then you're kind of an asshole, right? But if you're using it in a method just to make a little bit of money and you are solving a problem because you built a whole bunch of easily to rank pages around this particular target, then I don't see anything wrong with that at all. Google's doing it. Google is making money off of your back, so why don't you make some money off of theirs, right? All right, so Ted, let's close this out. We're going to talk about SEO Fight Club because we're almost at an hour and 20 minutes now. So SEO Fight Club tomorrow. First, what did you go over last week so they can catch up on that episode? And then what do we have coming up tomorrow?
Well, SEO Fight Club, if you haven't heard about it, it was an old YouTube show I used to run trying to debunk SEO myths with data and measurement. And it kind of flopped, and I kind of, ran out of wind in my sails to do it. And so recently, a lot of people demanded we bring it back. So we rebooted it, and we have Clint Butler and Kyle Roof. And we debate cutting-edge SEO theory craft. It's a dangerous podcast in that if you take the information we share and implement it on your clients' websites, it might cause problems. It might get you penalized by Google. We're basically showing you the insides of our technical research and our private discussions and how we debate SEO on a daily basis. So it's a window into that. Episode 1 was on keyword density. And if you haven't seen it, it's going to blow your mind. It's going to make you rethink everything. Episode 2 is on meta descriptions. And if you haven't seen it, it's going to blow your mind. It's going to make you rethink everything. And episode 3 is tomorrow. And I'm pretty sure it's going to blow your mind. It's going to make you rethink everything. So come join us, and hopefully we can live up to the hype. I'm sure we will. We seem to be delivering.
Yeah, for sure.
Last week was awesome. Last week's was awesome with the meta description stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I was almost speechless. You can watch that episode, and I was like, because we didn't get to see the test results after that. So that was really good. So if you want to find a channel, it's SEO Fight Club. You can do YouTube. I'll actually update a link in the description of the video and on the page so you can see it. But SEO Fight Club is on Wednesday. So SEO this week, Tuesday, we get some ideas. What are we going to test, etc. And SEO Fight Club Wednesdays, where you see some of those tests come to fruition, and a lot more. I see the slides for tomorrow, and it's really, really good, especially if you want to start being a smart SEO and testing on your own. So you definitely need to be there. And with that, Terry, again, can you give everyone your website again so they can find you?
Sure. TerrisTipsandStrategies.com.
Terry's Tips and Strategies. He's got a mastermind on there, $10 a month if you want to join that. It's on Skype. And if not, there's some training videos and stuff, or just reach out to Terry, and he'll definitely help you out. Terry, I'd like to thank you very much. I gave you short notice to show up, but you did anyway, so I appreciate that.
Well, thanks.
And I hope to have you back some other time.
Take care, Ted. Good talking with you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody. And this closes out episode 105 of SEO This Week.